Let's move on to reading user input. How can we read user's input? It is very simple. We can use the Python built-in function called input. And this function gets the input from the keyboard and returns a string. So let's suppose we need to ask the user for his or her name, and we need to store it in a name variable. And in this case, we'll simply write input, open the parentheses, and write whatever we want to ask them. For example, what is your name? We can add this, and this represents a new line, which is a special characters. And in this case, if we add it here, Python will automatically jump to a new line, and let's see how it goes. So here we have what is your name, and in the next line we can write Paddy, and let's suppose we don't have this. Let's run this code. We are obliged to write on the same line. Now that we have our input stored in the variable called name, we can use it and print it out. For example, let's say print hello and the name the user uh, write. And in this case, what is your name? Let's have a new line here. Run this code again. So what's your name? Hadi. It will print hello Hadi. Now let's go ahead and convert this input. So for example, if we're expecting the user to type an integer, and we know that this input function only returns a string. So in this case, we need to convert this string to an integer. We already talked about the int function, built-in function in Python. So we can simply, let's ask the user to enter an age or his age. And in this case, we need to convert this input from a string to an integer, and let's store it in a variable called age, int, and the number, let's say, and here we have the number. And if we go ahead and print this age +1, just to check that this is a real integer and not a string. So for example, enter his age, then we'll get 11. So this is it for how to convert an integer, a string, to an integer. Let's now talk a little bit about comments. Everything after the hashtag character, this one, is ignored by Python. So for example, we can write here that our code will print the age. So print age. And normally we write comments when we have a very large code and we're working with other programmers. So to avoid confusing them or confusing ourselves, maybe later in the future, we can simply write a simple line or a simple sentence just so we can know what we did here. Now this code is pretty simple, but when we work with huge and large, it will be easier for us to just write these comments. So with that being said, this is it for this video. See you in the next one.